He sat in the dark. The only light came from his old laptop, flickering blue, humming like it was barely alive. His fingers moved fast, hitting the keys like drumbeats in a war he refused to lose. 3:47 a.m. The world was asleep. He wasn't. Lines of code streamed across the screen, green letters on black, a language only he could understand. Most people would have called it chaos. He called it freedom. Somewhere deep in the system, a wall of code cracked. He'd done it again. He'd broken through. But it wasn't about money. It wasn't about fame. He did it because once, someone told him, "You'll never make it. You're just another nobody." Those words became his first password. And tonight he finally hacked it. He wasn't born smart. He wasn't born lucky. He was born invisible. The kind of kid teachers forgot to call on. The kind of kid who sat in the back of the classroom, doodling circuits on scrap paper while the others planned their futures. His name was Evan. And from the moment he first touched a computer, the world around him blurred. He didn't see a screen, he saw a door. A door into a place where names, money, and background didn't matter. Only skill did. At 15, while his classmates were arguing about prom, Evan was tearing apart an old Dell laptop he'd found in the trash. It took him 2 days to fix it. No manuals, no YouTube tutorials, just raw curiosity and frustration. When it finally booted up, he felt something spark inside him. A hunger. He didn't want to play games. He wanted to build them. He didn't want to browse the web. He wanted to control it. That night he Googled one question. How do hackers think? And that was the start of everything. His parents didn't understand. His mom worked double shifts at a diner. His dad had left years ago. When she came home and saw him still staring at the screen, she'd sigh. "Evan, go to sleep. You can't live off that computer." But she was wrong. That computer would feed him someday. He started learning HTML, Python, JavaScript, anything he could find. He broke things just to figure out how to fix them. Every error message felt like a puzzle, every crash like a lesson. He failed more times than he could count. He lost files, crashed his system, erased entire projects by accident. But every failure taught him something school never did: how to think. At 17 he joined online coding forums under the name Nullmind. No one knew who he was. They just knew he was good. Really good. He started solving problems no one else could. Debugging systems, fixing exploits, even helping companies patch vulnerabilities, anonymously, quietly, for no reward. He wasn't doing it for money. He was doing it to prove a point. That brilliance doesn't need permission. But success online didn't translate offline. While Nullmind was gaining respect in coding circles, Evan, the kid behind the screen, was barely surviving. Bills piled up. His laptop was falling apart. He'd skip meals to save for a new part, a new cable, a little more time before the system died completely. One night, his laptop froze mid-project. The fan screamed. The screen went black. He hit the keyboard once, twice. Nothing. That sound, silence, was the sound of defeat. He sat there, staring at the lifeless screen, surrounded by darkness. For the first time in years he felt small again. The voice of every teacher, every skeptic, every so-called friend came back. "You'll never make it. You're wasting your time. You're not one of them." He wanted to scream. Instead he laughed, that bitter kind of laugh that hides pain too deep to cry out loud. Then he did something crazy. He opened the old PC tower he'd scavenged months ago and started rebuilding it, with parts that didn't fit, cables too short, screws missing. It looked like Frankenstein's monster. But when he pressed the power button, it worked. And so did he. That night changed him. He realized the system, school, jobs, society, wasn't built for people like him. It was built to keep people in line. And he was done standing in line. He didn't want to play their game. He wanted to rewrite it. He started learning about cybersecurity, real hacking, white hat work, digital defense. He'd stay up until sunrise breaking through virtual firewalls just to understand how they worked. Every time he cracked a system, he felt more in control of his own life. He wasn't breaking rules. He was breaking limits. A few months later, he found a bug in a small startup's website, a vulnerability that could have cost them everything. He emailed them explaining the issue. They didn't believe him. So he proved it by showing them exactly where the flaw was. The next day they wired him $2,000 as a thank you. It was more money than he'd ever seen in one place. He didn't spend it. He invested it in better tools, better gear, better focus. That was the first time he realized, if you can solve real problems, the world will pay you to do it. Weeks turned into months. Evan went from unknown to unstoppable. Companies started reaching out, quietly, discreetly. He didn't have a degree. He didn't have connections. He just had proof that he could do what others couldn't. But with every new success came a new question in his head. If I can hack systems, can I hack life itself? Because maybe life was just like code, a series of inputs, errors, and rewrites. And maybe the people who fail are just the ones who stop debugging too soon. That's when he made a promise to himself. He wouldn't just fix bugs in code. He'd fix the bugs in his story. The broken past, the doubt, the fear. He'd rewrite everything. And as the sun rose outside his window, he whispered the same line that had guided him from the start. If the system isn't built for me, then I'll build my own. The first time money hit his account, Evan thought it was a mistake. $2,000 real earned his. He refreshed the page 3 times just to believe it. For a second he just stared. No celebration, no cheering. Just that quiet, electric feeling, the kind you get when you realize your life might never be the same again. He built something out of nothing. And that changed everything. After that day his inbox started to fill. Not with spam or rejection letters but with opportunities. Small companies, startups, even cybersecurity firms, people were starting to notice Nullmind. Some wanted him to test their systems. Others wanted him to build them. Each job was a new level, more complex, more dangerous, more rewarding. He worked through the nights, slept through the days. Instant noodles. Energy drinks. Code. Repeat. He didn't see it as sacrifice. He saw it as evolution. But the more he grew, the more the system started to notice him. Not everyone liked what he was doing. Especially not the ones who built the rules he kept breaking. One night, while scanning through networks for security flaws, he found something strange. A portal, not literally but it felt like one. A private server linked to a major tech corporation. Unprotected. Open. Vulnerable. Curiosity whispered. Fear screamed. He shouldn't have clicked. But he did. For a few seconds he saw what no one outside that company was supposed to see. Internal documents, code blueprints, employee data. He didn't steal anything. He didn't touch a file. He just looked. And that look changed everything. The next morning he woke up to an email that made his blood run cold. We know who you are. No name. No signature. Just those words. He froze. Was it the company? The government? Some hacker group? He didn't know. All he knew was he'd gone too far. He shut everything down. Laptop off. Router unplugged. Phone in airplane mode. For 3 days he barely slept. He kept replaying that one click in his head. That one choice that could destroy everything he'd built. But the email wasn't a threat. It was an offer. 3 days later, another message arrived. We saw what you did. We need someone like you. Let's talk. Attached was a company logo. CentraTech, one of the biggest cybersecurity firms in the country. At first he thought it was a trap. But after a video call with their director, it became clear, they weren't angry. They were impressed. He hadn't broken the system. He'd exposed its weakness. And in their world, that wasn't a crime. It was talent. Evan took the contract. For the first time, he wasn't working against the system. He was being paid to protect it. The paycheck was more than he'd ever seen. He moved into a small apartment. Clean walls, real furniture, working Wi-Fi that didn't cut out mid-download. To most people, it looked like success. To him, it felt like safety. But inside, something started to change. He was no longer the outsider. He was part of the machine he used to fight. At work, his colleagues wore suits, talked in corporate buzzwords, and laughed at jokes he didn't get. They'd pat him on the back and say, "Man, you're a genius. You should have gone to Stanford." He'd smile politely, but inside, those words burned. Because he didn't need Stanford. He built himself. Still, the job taught him things no book could. Structure, leadership, money flow, system architecture. He soaked it all in. But the longer he stayed, the more he realized something was off. CentraTech wasn't protecting people. It was protecting power. They didn't fix vulnerabilities to make users safer. They fixed them to keep their data empire untouched. And Evan started asking questions he wasn't supposed to. One night, while checking server logs, he found files tagged restricted, internal use only. Normally he wouldn't care. But this time the file names caught his eye. User behavior mapping. Biometric surveillance. Predictive data control. He opened one. It was a project tracking millions of users. Their habits, conversations, even microphone activity, all for research. Except it wasn't research. It was control. He stared at the screen, heart pounding. He wasn't supposed to see this. But now he couldn't unsee it. He realized something. He hadn't escaped the system. He joined a bigger one. That night, Evan made a choice. A dangerous one. He copied the files. Not to expose them yet, just to keep them safe. Evidence. Proof. He knew if they found out it was over. But if he didn't act, everything he believed in meant nothing. The hacker in him, the part that refused to play by their rules, woke up again. He started working in secret. By day he was Centratec's security analyst. By night he built something new, an open-source platform that would protect users, not corporations. A system that couldn't be controlled. Encrypted, decentralized, untouchable. It wasn't just code anymore. It was rebellion. He named it The Loop. Because once you entered it, no system could track you again. Weeks passed. The Loop grew, quiet whispers in online forums, coders joining from around the world, anonymous faces united by one idea. Freedom isn't given. It's coded. But the more popular The Loop became, the more eyes turned toward him. Big eyes. Corporate ones. And one night, just like before, an email arrived. This time it said, "We know what you're building." Only this time there was no offer attached. Evan stared at the screen. He wasn't scared. He wasn't angry. He was ready. Because he finally understood. You don't hack systems just to break them. You hack them to rebuild them, stronger, freer, fairer. And as he opened a new window, code flowing faster than ever, he whispered to himself, "Let them watch. I'm not hiding anymore." The moment Evan pressed enter, the world shifted. Lines of code rippled across his screen like a storm, thousands of servers connecting, syncing, hiding, multiplying. The Loop was alive. Not a program anymore, a movement. For months he had worked in silence. Now the silence was gone. And the world was finally listening. News broke within hours. Anonymous program disrupts global tracking systems. Corporations report unexplained data loss. The rise of the digital ghost. The media didn't know who did it. But inside the glass towers of Centratec, they knew exactly whose fingerprints were in that code. It started with a knock. 3 sharp taps on the apartment door. He didn't open. Then came the pounding. He grabbed his laptop, the one with the Loop's core code, and ran. Through the back stairwell, out the alley, into the freezing rain. Sirens echoed in the distance, or maybe in his head. For the first time in years he wasn't behind a screen. He was in the game. He found refuge in an old co-working space he used to rent before everything changed. Dust on the tables, a single flickering bulb, and the hum of his laptop fan. That was his new command center. He connected to the Loop again. It was spreading, faster than he'd planned. Coders, hackers, activists, people from every corner of the world were joining. They weren't following orders. They were following belief. The belief that privacy wasn't a luxury, it was a right. Meanwhile, governments and corporations called it a cyber threat. They wanted to shut it down, trace it, erase it. But every time they found one copy, 10 more appeared. Like wildfire in the code. Like freedom with a firewall. Evan watched it all unfold, the chaos, the panic, the power. And a strange fear crept in. Because he didn't want to destroy the world. He wanted to fix it. But revolutions don't ask for permission. They just begin. A message flashed on his encrypted terminal. Unknown user, they're coming for you. Evan, who is this? Unknown user, someone who believes in what you built. Evan, why help me? Unknown user, because you reminded us that control has limits. Then, the message vanished. He didn't know who it was. Maybe someone inside the system. Maybe someone watching. Maybe both. Days blurred together. Evan barely ate, barely slept. Every second was code, encryption, protection. He knew he couldn't run forever. So he made one final plan, a digital self-destruct. He created a final version of the Loop, one that couldn't be owned, tracked, or shut down, even by him. Once launched, it would become fully autonomous. A living network. He stared at the code like a father staring at a child. And whispered, "It's not mine anymore. It's everyone's." Then he pressed enter. Everything froze. Then exploded. Around the world, devices blinked, networks glitched, firewalls collapsed. Not to destroy but to release. For a brief moment, everyone online felt it. The internet went free. Data tracking systems stopped. Advertising networks crashed. Encrypted messages became truly untraceable. And then, nothing. Silence. The Loop had vanished. And so had Evan. For weeks no one knew where he went. Some said he fled the country. Others said he was arrested in secret. Some believed he was gone forever. But online, in the hidden corners of the web, whispers continued. He's still here. He's watching. The loop never dies. Months later, a new post appeared on a small tech forum. Anonymous. No username. Just one line of text. Freedom isn't something you download. It's something you build. Then a string of code followed, the same base encryption that started the loop. Proof. He wasn't gone. He just moved deeper into the system, where no one could find him. And somewhere, in a dim apartment in another city, a new laptop hummed quietly. A single blue light blinked. Lines of code scrolled across the screen shaping something new. The revolution wasn't over. It was evolving. Evan leaned back in his chair, the glow of the monitor reflecting in his eyes. He smiled not out of pride but peace, because he finally understood. He wasn't fighting against the system anymore. He was rewriting it. And as the cursor blinked, waiting for his next command, he whispered one final line. The loop was never about code. It was about choice.